AI is the thing now. If you're like really going into this whole LLM, MC, whatever, this thing, it's like the hot thing now, but it's not gonna be
When you
there
said
for a while.
LLM now, it sounded like LLM.
I know LLM. Like, you know, this language, like, so like.
Ibra, to you, what is the American dream?
By definition, like not just as a case study or like example sort of situation, right? I would say definitely an American dream to me seems like the possibility to be able to achieve success regardless of your background or, you know, your financial class or whatever. You are able to at least have this sort of upward mobility, and I don't want to say do whatever you want, but something related to that, like
Some level of freedom. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
to not have this sort of mental restrictions or societal restrictions into what you can achieve or how far you can achieve things. So that would be like a pretty theoretical definition of American success from my perspective.
You're absolutely right. I think on the more average level, it looks like regardless of where you're coming from, regardless of your background, regardless of your anything, you are able to have the freedom to achieve success. And then defining that success in very, very simple terms would be being able to own a home, having a family, having, say, a car and all that stuff, and a good job that allows you to then collect a good pension at the end. This, very simply, right, is the average term of what the American dream should be. But of course, you still have the freedom to do much more than what I've defined as success, if that's what you want, right? So the freedom to achieve success based on what you have defined success as. Simple. Now, with that definition, do you think it is still attainable today?
Definitely not. Nah, I wouldn't say definitely not. I would argue that it is for sure, but I think success is personal, right? Like, so everyone won't define success the same. So, and I think that is like the huge difference when it comes to that. But regardless of that, I would argue that, yeah, even though the US might seem like it's going through a lot of internal political divide or gender divide or all these things, cultural divide, from where I stand, I feel like for sure the US is still one of the places in the world that you can still go and make things happen regardless of whatever obstacle you have to overcome or your background or your current situation.
Yeah. So basically, from your perspective, if you compare it to the rest of the world, the US is still seems to you that on average, the American dream is still very much alive. Okay. Now, if this is the case, and I actually agree with you on this one, because when I think about it, the one thing that I keep thinking that might make the American dream a bit shaky is the ability to own a home. Because I think that's the one thing that is so difficult now, especially in Western society. It's so difficult now for people to actually make money, live their life, not put their life on hold or pause and try to make owning a home the only goal in life.
Yeah.
The ability to still have a balanced life and own a home today is a bit difficult.
Yeah.
Not a bit difficult. It's actually quite difficult. But I was also then thinking, but you then still have some states in the US where owning a home is still a very, very attainable thing. You don't necessarily need a 7-bedroom, blah, 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 but in some places, owning a home is still quite attainable.
Yeah.
But with what we have in the world today, so in the past, the idea of a job that should be able to get you to that American dream is as simple as working in a factory. But
Yeah.
that's something that has changed today.
For
What are the things that are now driving the American dream to be alive? On average, if you would try to achieve the American dream, what do you have to do today from your perspective?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I also wanted to make that clear. Like, yeah, it's quite challenging compared to like maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago when the US was much more in a better situation economically, right? But it doesn't mean that it is dead. It's a lot more difficult. But but it's not impossible. So you ask like what I feel like needs to be done to be able to achieve the
Yeah,
American
like
dream.
on average now, especially because, before you would think, well, for the American dream, I need a 9 to 5 factory job, I should be fine. And then people will then have different standards of what that dream looks like, and then they then do other things. But then the bare minimum is, even with a factory 9 to 5, even as a waitress 9 to 5, I should still be able to achieve the American dream. But now there are different routes to it, more routes. Now we have Wi-Fi, now we have the internet, right? Since the time in 1931 when Tony Adams coined that term American dream. Now we have many more things that gives you a route to it. And it could potentially also be that some of the things that gives you a route towards achieving the American dream is no longer viable. So from your perspective, what is viable today to be able to achieve the American dream?
In my opinion, it's not even about the American dream alone. For me, it's like a general view of life, and I think it definitely works in the US, or at least for the American dream, conceptually. Is that the only way to achieve this is definitely not through a 9 to 5 job. You have to sort of have this entrepreneurial mindset to be able to achieve the American dream of today, because a standard 9 to 5 doesn't seem to be working for a lot of people, which is still working for a chunk of other people. But if you really generalize, a lot of people are still needing a part-time like job after like their main job to be able to make ends meet, right? But the second point I would like to make, aside being entrepreneurial in your mindset, is that you have to critically think for yourself to be able to achieve the American dream. I think the structure the government has laid out is definitely not working anymore for a while now. So the idea of go to school, get in loan to get in debt to get your degree, then you pay your student loan back, and a lot of people are seeing debt like from going to schools and still not being able to pay off their student loan, right? So that is definitely not working. So what works, in my opinion, is then you have to sit down, draw a personalized roadmap that works for you, because just following this whole idea that is being laid out, it's definitely not working. So you have to look somewhere else. People need to come
I
up
see
with
what you're saying.
this decentralized idea of what it is to make money. Like, for example, like
Yeah.
in tech now, it was like a bubble, now it's like busted, right? Now it's AI. Like AI is the thing now. If you're like really going into this whole LLM, MC, whatever, this thing, it's like the hot thing now, but it's not gonna be
When you
there
said
for a while.
LLM now, it sounded like LLM.
I know LLM. Like, this language, like, so like for me it takes sitting back and just really taking a deep breath, checking all available options, seeing where a lot of people aren't really focusing on, and going into that. And I think it's just a life philosophy for me. Like anywhere you are, if you have that kind of mindset, you'll be fine.